He doesn't know me. I don't even know myself, but I keep walking as if nothing has happened, ignoring all emotions, becoming numb to everything. You might want to get into
in here. Oh, shit.
to a hospital. Done hours later, my friend ran up to me saying, "Yo man, the cops is coming. You gotta run nigga." Tipsy posted that video on MySpace, and I remember thinking this seeing this. The day is fuckingly sunny. Birds are singing and chattering endlessly in beautiful harmony. The sky is cloudless like a perfectly turquoise blue, as if specifically chosen from God. Like even the world is glad to see me go off into the pits of hell for the rest of my teen years. Glad that they will be of peace of mind because the inhumane savage is tied in chains. Well, I'm okay. Not really, but it means no more or no less. I will not come back when they release me in however many years, for I intend to die in those walls, peacefully and unattended. I will finally eliminate pain, grief, sorrow so that all will be for naught, forgotten. I intend to die at 16, but I'm not sure if I can wait that long. So maybe tomorrow, or after the trial, but soon, I'll be gone like the wind, as I suspected and wished he would. I say, twirling a leaf in my hands, purest green I've ever seen. I stare out and look beyond time, to the future, but my mind cannot calculate. It's like a foreign code it can't understand. So it moves to the past and everything becomes visible, and I understand everything. And I have chosen to believe certain things. 73. But the scary thing is that I see everything and everyone, every horror, every tear, every bloodstain, every injustice. I look back down at my leaf and feel Xavier put his arms around me. I love you, man. I always did. Kelsey too. My eyes dart up and I see Kelsey staring at me across the street while shifting her eyes back and forth with me and the police cars down the street. Don't say that, I whisper. Xavier kisses me on my head. I do. I always did. You always be my brother, he whispers. Tears fall from my eyes and my body shivers solemnly. Those words had once been a curse and a plague, but from him they were a comforter, but then again a ticket to the past. I look up and see that people are coming out of shops to see what's the fuss about, and the street is becoming full with onlookers. I still see Kelsey, but her mom is by her, holding her back from me. I can see in her eyes she wants me, and I want and need her. I haven't seen her in years, it seems. My soul yearning for something sweet life. She is what propelled me to live. Xavier as well, but it was she who was my driving force. I dry my tears with my hand and keep my eyes to the ground as the police officer approaches me. I come on, you know the drill. I stand up with no emotion and give him my hands. He eyes me questionably, not believing I'm allowing, no giving myself with no talk of any sort or resistance, that not even my eyes talk. They talk not of defeat, nor of victory. They talk not of joy or sadness. They just are, not even are, they are numb. The officer shakes his head and proceeds to handcuff my hands. I don't know anything really about you, but blowing a guy's manhood clean off, that's just cold. I look as I haven't say nothing, and so the police officer squints his eyes and frowns his face. Who are you? I am numb, I say, with no emotion and no tone that could express any belief other than that of being completely and utterly numb. The officer releases his frown and shows a bit of sympathy, but then shakes his head again and moves me toward the car. The street is full of murmur and great approval of my dismissal from the community, and as I look once more I see my mother, crying and being held back by my father, who stares at me with great disapproval, and then I see my supposed-to-be sister, staring at me with this crazed look with grandma's sick hands on her shoulders, and she is grandma, but who is grandma? And then next to her I see Michael as the good and faithful son, who will always be. And then I look on up the road and I see some of the beauty shop women, patting their weave while approving through gum. And then next to them I see Ms. Charlene, and she's shaking her head and few tears drip from her face, but she remains strong and firm in her stature. Then lastly I see Kelsey and her mama's eyes showing the utmost disapproval and disgust. Her eyes yet also applaud and joy. I won't be an influence anymore. And then I see Kelsey, and my whole mind stops. I loved her so much, and protected her with everything that I had in me. She was more than a crush, but my baby sister. I turned my head away from all and prepared to sit in the car when Kelsey darts my way. She broke free from her mother surprisingly and is now running full speed to me. She darts across the street and wraps me in her arms, bawling her eyes out like a mad woman. But you don't know what that's doing to me. Her arms, her care, her love, her sympathy, her passion, and spirit. My sister, love, love, love. She sniffles and looks up at me. I loved you, DJ, I love you, always. The other police officer steps in and gently takes her aside of me, pulling her away from me. And all my mind can think is how I don't want to leave her. I don't want to lose her sweet voice, her love and arms that she gave me, comfort. She screams and flails her arms, and all my mind can think, say, is that you failed her. All she's done for you, and this how you repay her. Death. Death for love. Sex for love. Drugs for love. Money for love. I look at past time, and then I'm seated in the back of the car and driven away. DJ, are you here with us? I look up at Mrs. Green and nod my head. Yes, ma'am, she says, correcting me. Yes, ma'am, I murmur. She looks over at the district attorney, or the prosecutor. Attorney, or the prosecutor, or whatever she is, and asks her to continue speaking. 74. We find Mr. Lamar in violation of the following. Mrs. Green, as we wrote up in his probation due to his violent crime committed against another student, it was ruled not a crime. That's the reason he's not in jail currently. I turn around, get my lawyer coming in late to the courtroom with my grandfather and the only one I seem to see is my mother. We all know that it was a crime, and due to his fortunate genetic connection to Mr. Lamar of Lamar Corporations, he was acquitted on all charges, by the right to defend oneself, which he was clearly doing. The white lady with long blonde hair turns and looks completely at my lawyer, the fresh out of college brilliant Chase Burker. He shot the young man after he was completely unable to defend himself as a way to make a point. It was a clear failure of the system to protect our young, or a complete failure to protect our young white boys. Mr. Burker and Mrs. Taylor, please. Your time to have debated this was when the incident occurred. The ruling has been made, and therefore there will be no more debate on the subject in my courtroom. Do we understand? Mr. Burker slaps me on my shoulder to say what's up, and so I look up at him and smile. I like him. He's a cool white guy. Yes, Mrs. Green. Mrs. Green nods her head again toward Mrs. Taylor. Continue again, Mrs. Taylor. I turn around in my seat and look at my grandfather, who sits behind me, and smile at him next to my father. I then look at my grandmother, and she looks at me briefly, like she'd rather not be here. In fact, she's not here, and so I sort of shudder. She's gonna hurt me. Mr. Lamar is in violation of the following: possession of marijuana with the intention to distribute, possession of alcohol, assault with a deadly weapon, assault. These accusations are ridiculous. Chase yells at Mrs. Taylor. She turns and looks at him. These are the facts, sir. Mrs. Green waves her hands at both of them. Continue, Mrs. Taylor. He has not been in attendance school as the probation requires, and has been written up numerous times by his school, and was even kicked off of the school's basketball team. I quit that bullshit. What the hell is she talking about, Chase? Chase looks down at me and pats my back to calm me down. I got this, man. I got this. He has not gone to all of the required counseling sessions, and he has yet to perform any community services was required for his termed self-defense. Mrs. Green, all these statements are accusations, or they have been disregarded by the city police. His possession of marijuana was an assumption made by his school teachers. My client is no longer a drug dealer. He's trying to turn his life around, so that statement is another assumption based on the previous assumption, and when looked into by city police, they found nothing to substantiate those claims. Don't just give rhetoric, Mr. Rhetoric, Mr. Rhetoric, Mr. Rhetoric, Mr. Rhetoric, Mr. Possession of alcohol, and they had a mix-up with his identity in the assault with a deadly weapon, which is much the case with this community, who only wishes to see him locked up behind bars. The incident involved another young man in his gang. Ma'am, these accusations are true, as several people in each of these came forward and said the same thing. It's just that our young one has a knack for dissolving evidence, and his genetic wealth doesn't help it either. Mrs. Taylor, I have to go by the police reports, but most of the police reports are being coerced by Mr. Lamar's grandfather. He is buying these police officers out. His hand is all over this. I look back at my grandfather and his face is stoic and emotionless and glued to Chase. That's an absurd accusation, Mrs. Green. Mr. Lamar is an upstanding gentleman only concerned with the best interest of his grandson. It is ever so disrespectful, especially with all that he does to give back to not only this community but the world. I don't need a bio, Mr. Burker. Mrs. Green, I'm not going to lie like my counterpart who cares nothing about the life and prosperity of our young that are lost. My client has not attended school on the regular, but we must understand that he is going through a process, and despite his non-attendance, his grades are all A's and his state tests are complete perfection. But the agreement of his probation was that he goes to school every day. No exception 75, but it is obvious that he is doing the work and bettering himself from the academic spectrum. He was dismissed from the basketball team for bad behavior, has been written up numerous times, and has been still in countless fights. He quit the basketball team, and like I said before, he's in transition and making considerable progress, as his counselor and pastor himself can tell you. I mean, why give him to the system where his support will be minimal or better yet non-existent? He has a world of support here, Chase says, turning and displaying my parents, and my grandparents, and Ricky and his wife. We have to put his best interest first so that he won't be another statistic or a real threat to society. The child is outro, Mrs. Green. He's gotten worse since our last court hearing with no sense of consequences. I allot that he spends at least a month in jail to teach him that in the real world there are consequences for your actions and that money can't buy you out of everything. This kid has lived in humble means his entire life. His family has just come upon wealth. Mr. Ricky, can you step up please and give your account on the situation, please? I turn around and look at Ricky, who looks back at me with soft eyes. Oh yes, ma'am. He stands up and walks around to where we are. Your account on young Mr. Lamar. Ricky swallows and glances at me. We definitely had our problems at the beginning with him not coming to several counseling sessions, but once his father became a bit more involved, he has been coming ever since. He looks at me again. Oh, we had some altercations, verbal and physical. We had some times we didn't speak, but he's been opening up a lot more in the last couple of weeks and we've grown pretty close. In your opinion, do you think he should go into the system? Mr. Ricky stares at Mrs. Green. No, ma'am. He's too young and too screwed up to go into the system. It would do no good for him. He needs extensive attention and counseling, not isolation. He's a good kid. Ricky swallows again and looks down. He looks up. I believe there is sinister play going on that continues to permit him to smoking and drinking. Has he been smoking and drinking since our last court session? Ricky breathes in deeply. Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Green looks at me. I thought it was our agreement that you wouldn't do drugs. I shrug my shoulders and look down. What are you drinking and smoking for, sir? I shrug my shoulders and don't look up, 'cause I can feel her eyes on me and my breathing becomes heavier and quicker because I knew I was letting off too much to Ricky, and now she's gonna hurt me, and all I can think is she's gonna hurt me. Mrs. Green. No, Mrs. Taylor, it is my turn to speak. She sits up in her chair and looks at everyone. I have no doubt that there is sinister play going on, and it is the reason why I have ordered him for as long as he is in my jurisdiction to have counseling. And I make it your mission, Mr. Ricky, to find this sinister play, for there is no reason for a 12-year-old boy going on 13 to act out in such a way if there was not sinister play going on. It is evident when you look in this child's eyes that he is terrified despite the front that he wears and this ridiculous gang that he associates with. But I am no dummy, and neither is young Mr. Lamar. He is very smart, and his IQ level is extremely beyond his years. I have no doubt in my mind that he is smoking, drinking, and possibly distributing drugs, and I have no doubt that he is dissolving evidence when he is close to being caught. I need no drug test to tell me that. I am also not naive in the fact that Mr. Lamar Sr. is paying off some of the police officers of this city and protecting his grandson with his large wealth and overbearing influence. And I speak to you, Mr. Lamar, that if you continue such practices, you will eventually be found and you will go to prison. I look back at my grandfather, but his face doesn't change. I am in the business of helping our children, not writing them off. Therefore, in this court, I will do everything in my power to provide the resources to better any young individual that steps foot in it. DJ will not go to jail, juvie. He will instead work an extended amount of hours of community service at the nearby library on the northwest side of town so that he can focus without being influenced by that idiotic gang. And he will do community service for the rest of the school year or until I say otherwise. And as long as his grades stay where they are at, and he continues to go to counseling and continues in this transition, I could really care less if he goes to school, because the focus is helping this young boy with an obvious sinister problem. It is so ordered. I turn around and look at Granddad and see the last of his deep and subtle. He looks at my grandmother and grins, and she nods back fairly as if so distant nothing can really bring her back. I look at my shoulder and then look up at Chase 76. Told you I got this. I smile at him fairly and stand up and shake his hand, but I can't stop from feeling that this time it wasn't really him. It was my grandfather's money that really spoke this time, and Mrs. Green's love for me. At least I figure that's what it is. I glance at Ricky and he rubs his neck uncomfortably and walks back to his wife, barely looking at me. He knows, along with everybody else, that I should have gone to jail. I walk to the aisle and wait for my parents to walk out. The first person to come out is my grandmother, who smiles at me fairly and gives me a fake hug, and distant, and then moves past me. Damn, she, or rather he, isn't even acting today. She's just pure evil today, and the way her eyes are, half glazed but yet they stare into me and look at me without cease, proves evermore. Then my grandfather walks out and he lights up like he always does, and it brings me a sort of relief. And somewhere off in the distance I hear my mother saying, "Make sure you go with David." "What's up, lil man?" He gives me a high five and brings me to him, hugging me real tight. "Hey daddy," I smile. He slaps my face playfully and looks me up and down. "You looking good today." I shrug my shoulders and look down at the ground. "Yeah, today." David nods his head and puts his arm around me, walking me toward the door and on out the courtroom. And as he does, I can't help but to notice my grandmother's eyes watching me, and Ricky, who watches my grandmother. "What's up with all these drug accusations?" I look up at David and smile at him softly. He knows they weren't accusations. Life hurts. No shit, so why make it hurt worse? I shrug my shoulders and turn around and watch as my father and Carrie come to the door with my mother, followed by Ricky and his wife. "I don't know, Daddy." He hits me on my shoulder. "Y'all know who you like." I shrug my shoulders. "You just like your brother Deshaun. You can't move on cause y'all got so much anger in you. But what you don't realize is that the only one you hurtin' is you. You are so blessed." "Sure are." I turn and look at my mother coming up beside David. "So why you gonna keep this up?" "Cause you gonna pay me back all this money, I hope you know that." I nod my head and breathe in deeply, ignoring my mother's eyes. "I know, I'm Ricky, DJ's counselor." I look up and see Ricky outstretch his hand to my mother, and it's as if a switch turns on inside of her. "Oh yes, nice to meet you. I'm Julia Lamar, his grandmother." Ricky nods his head and smiles at her cautiously. "Yeah, he's a nice boy, and I think we're making significant progress." She looks at me and smiles genuinely. "Oh, is that so?" I shudder inside and dart my eyes at Ricky to make him stop. He has no idea what he's doing, and I'm already gonna get it, and he's only making it worse. "Yet, I was thinking maybe we could do a family therapy session since you and your husband are in town." I put my face in my hands and try to act like I'm tired to hide my distress. I want to scream at Ricky for him to stop. I thought his job was to protect me, not put me in harm's way. "That sounds like a wonderful idea. When should we meet?" She turns to David. "We have time, don't we?" David nods and looks at Ricky. "Anytime, anytime." David nods his head vigorously. "I'll do anything to help my boy. Anything to keep him out of jail. For I feel we got him in this mess anyway." Ricky nods his head. "What do you mean by that?" David shrugs and points to my father standing respectfully to the side of my mother with Carrie at his right side. "Well, you know, having him out of wedlock and trying to put him in that godforsaken orphanage. Worst mistake of my orphanage." Worst mistake of my life. Ricky nods his head as if he understands. But we have to forgive ourselves. David nods his head. Don't I know? Hey, in fact, David touches my mother's arm gently. You and DJ go get lunch and catch up. I know DJ, you've been dying to see your grandmother since we left last time we were here, and yeah, don't stop calling at all random hours of the night. And me and you and my son and my daughter-in-law can go out and talk about the best steps forward from all this. My heart drops and I dart my eyes at Ricky again, who glances at me and sees my face trying to hide everything. 77, he stammers. Oh, why don't we all go to lunch together? I think DJ could give a lot of his own insight, if y'all know what I mean. But that's how David is. Impulsive. No. This is a perfect time for them to spend time together. Ain't that right, Julia? She nods her head. Yeah, baby. Don't you want to go out to eat? I look at her and shrug my shoulders, trying to fight back anger and tears. Yeah, I'd like that. I feel Ricky stare at me, but I don't look at him. I hate him for this. I hate him. Well, let's go then. Come on, Junior. David slaps my dad on the back and wraps his arm around him. David Lamar, by the way, he says, turning around and shaking Ricky's hand. Ricky nods at him and smiles lightly, trying to watch me and my mother as we exit the other way. She slips her hand into mine. More proof that she isn't mine because her hand is cold and rigid, not warm. Not warm and soft, like that of my mother, and he intertwines his fingers with mine, making a mockery of me and my mother, and grips my hand hard as if to say he's going to hurt me like never before. That I never should have said a word, that I should have kept my mouth shut, that I should have never spoken to the Ricky character. You damn fool. You think I'm a damn fool. You're mine, and always will be mine. And I feel Ricky look at me one last time, but I don't look back at him, for I hate him. And as I walk out the door into the cool fresh air, with the sun blazing beautifully as though it loves me, I can't help but to fear and feel. A tear streams down my face and I feel helpless, and I want to scream. How could you do this to me? How could no one see me? Done yo, Mike. I walk up to Mike in the middle of the park. He's standing with two other guys smoking a lick. He frowns at me, but doesn't wave me off. So I make my way up to him and stand right in front of him. I want a lick. Mike frowns at me and waves me off, turning away, looking on into the park, at the kids. Go on somewhere, lil man. This shift is strong for you. I push him in his chest and stare at him menacingly. Give me a lick, Mike. Mike stares down at me coldly like he doesn't know me, like I'm them niggas he hates wearing blue. I ain't giving you no lick, nigga. Now go on somewhere. I bite my lip and push him in the chest again. Give me a fucking lick. Mike pushes me back now, hard in my chest, making me stumble back. His finger in my face with eyes like red, like he's been crying for me. I said no. I ain't gonna be the one responsible for you turning into a drug addict. I ain't gonna do it. I point to his friend Dan, then give it to him. Mike shakes his head and looks off into the distance, staring at the kids again possibly. He bites his lip and looks back at me, glaring at me with hate seeming to run vivid through him. Why you need this? I stare back hard, my eyes not even painting. You know why. Mike grits his teeth and looks back into the park, staring at the kids and becoming lost in them. Wondering where did he go? He bites his lip and looks back down at his pocket and pulls out a lick and hands it to his homeboy, who then gives it to me. He bites his lip harder and shakes his head, eyes staring coldly at the ground and his chest heaving, like he's seen me murdered by them niggas he hates wearing blue. Now get out of here. I nod to him silently, and then leave. Weed, crack, ecstasy, LCD cheese. I did it all, and I did it many times. I still ain't know how I'm not addicted. But I ain't. Maybe I am addicted to weed, my favorite, because I do it all the time. Weed is like my reviver, and alcohol drowned the pain, made me forget. Weed just took me to another place completely. Sometimes I'd skip a whole day of school just to smoke weed, just to get away from time, for only a couple of minutes, an hour or two. I could leave. The confusing part of it was that days would run together and time would melt away faster than a light switch turning on light. Maybe that's extreme how it felt. Like I couldn't stand up straight. And see, these drugs were supposed to enable me to stand, and instead they were causing me to fall. I would find myself tucked or curled in a ball in my shirt wet with tears. And as I looked around myself at wherever I was, I couldn't remember how I had got 7810 there. School became non-existent after a while. I can't remember if I was kicked out or if I stopped going. Nothing about me was right. Everything was wrong, and there wasn't a person to listen. My heart screamed out in pain, but see, nobody heard. The drugs isolated me more than me had ever before. I was lost. Things were supposed to make sense, but nothing did. Nothing was right with me. Every which way I turned, all I saw was darkness and death. All around me, like that's all there was. And like a fire, the darkness consumed me. And I didn't even have a choice or a say-so or anything. The drugs drilled a deep hole in my soul, but see, they were my friends. They were all I had when the world seemed to be too much. I had to get away, if only for a minute or an hour, because the insanity of me could nearly and many times almost did kill me. I hurt. I cried. I died. I died every day, like living with cancer, and like cancer there was little to no hope. You need to put your clothes on. They'll be here any minute. I continued to stare at myself in the mirror, staring at the bruises and the scars, cuts that continue bleeding. I dab at my collarbone and then look back at the white towel decorated in red dye. I stare at the towel on the counter and stare at it with hot tears in my eyes, my body beginning to tremble now. I don't know how long I've stood here for her entertainment. It's like I left myself with the devil. I feel her wrap her arms around my shoulders and rest her head next to mine and stare at me through the mirror, pressing her body against mine for the millionth time. When does your sister get home? I look down at the towel again, glaring at it. 2:45. She kisses on my neck. Don't you love me, DJ? I try to breathe and rearrange myself slightly as not to anger her. Yes, I love you. Then why would you say such things about me? She grabs me and I try and breathe, closing my eyes. I won't do it again. She lets go of me. I bet that. She slaps me in my head and leaves out the bathroom. Put your clothes on. They're gonna be here any minute. I bite my bottom lip and bite back tears, standing straight up again. Look at me. I turn my head toward her. And you better act. I nod my head at her. I will, mama. You know it's bad when your dreams become fatalities that become nightmares that become your memories that then become your reality. And all you dream for is a normal reality that replays this tragic play all over again. And again I say, dreams are only dreams. Let them burn, all the lost dreams. See, I lost me a long time ago when she was captured by he, and the me within me died. My identity wrapped up in her as with any child. See, I was never wild, though I was, and my heartbeat beats to a different tune. String me and tune me you cannot. I am an instrument to damage to ever be repaired. This is what I hear, and this is what I see. Where is the hope for me? Tell me. Crying out I did, but they never heard. Hid I never did, always trying to be seen, but I was never seen. How many more times my heart cries, and now she denies her part. She blames me, like it's a game that I play in. So I say again, the play continues, and she says act, and play your part well. And I do, like Romeo, trying to hold on to a tragic love. So this is the cry I cried. I'm sitting right now with every memory, every heartache, every pain, every anger in me, every sound, every belittling of me, every depression, every rainfall, every sunny day. Lying right in front of me. I see my whole life staring back at me in my face, mocking me, and all I can hear is this uncontrollable laughter, so deafening, in my ears. And to top it all off, I see her sick, disgusting, vile grin in the midst of everything. And I hold in my hands the ability to eliminate everything. Every pain, every heartache, every rainy and sunny day can be gone in a split second. And I am so eager to take this opportunity and end all things. That may be beyond this earth. I can find something that is so much more fulfilling than this earth that has strained me to the point of death. Gone ahead. Shoot yourself. I give you permission. It's all you talk about. Go ahead. He yells. He beat me. He beat me. Because I'm not what I should be. But it's his fault, can't he see? All he does is whoop me for every little thing that I do wrong. I don't mean to. It's just how I am. I can't change my mouth. I can't control my anger. I can't come home every day because I don't know where home is. I don't even want to be like this. I thought I told you, Dad. I died. Dad, I died. Dad, I want you just to hold me and tell me everything's gonna be alright. I didn't mean to hit you, Dad. I didn't mean to cuss Mom out. Don't you know how much I love her? Don't you know what she did for me? She was my only joy in days of cold. I don't want to go, Daddy. I don't want to go 79, but all we do is fight. Nothing I do is good. All is wrong. I feel like nothing. Nobody likes me, Dad. I can't go nowhere without people whispering behind my back. Why they do that, Dad? They don't even know me, Dad. I've been through so much, Dad. I don't mean to get in people's way. I really don't. I just keep to myself, and maybe that's the problem. I don't have no one really, Dad. That's why I'm angry. But you can't see that. You think I'm just the outside without it, but that's not true. True. I'm sick. I'm crazy. I need a savior. I thought you'd be, but that's all right, because I have my savior, this right here. So goodbye, Daddy. You don't have to mess with me no more. Nobody does. I'll just leave forever and never come back, not even to haunt those who have done me wrong. So bye, Daddy. Sorry I caused so much trouble. I really didn't mean to. Hopefully you can pass the word on. Goodbye. I raise the gun to my head and pull the trigger. I open my eyes, and I'm still here. And my father is gawking at me and yelling to Carrie. He runs to me and snatches the gun from my hands and throws it to Carrie, who runs into the room crying. My father holds me and I cry into his arms. There's no blood. Damn, I'm still here. Hey, Pastor Ricky. Pause. Yeah, this is David Lamar. Yes, sir, I'm good. My son, he needs serious help and I have money. Okay, I will. Friday at 3? Yes, sir. Thank you. Done, DJ. I look up and see Ricky standing over me, but I'm a little too high, a little too numb to care. I look back at my sister and point to this dress in the magazine that she has opened up. You like this one, DJ? I nod my head soberly. I think you'd look nice in this one. She swings the magazine back in her direction and smiles at the picture while Ricky sits down next to me in the other. I have to be the prettiest girl there. I nod my head and stare at her. When is it again? In 2 months. So we have to work really hard. You hear me, DJ? I nod my head wearily. Yet I hear you, Lydia. She picks up another magazine and flips the page. I want this type of makeup. I frown at her. You're too young to be wearing makeup. She frowns at me. And you're too young to be in a gang. I shrug my shoulders. I'm going to be in a pageant, DJ. I have to bring my A game. I shrug my shoulders again and look around the rec center. What are you going to do for your talent? You don't have a talent. She makes a face at me and rolls her eyes. You're not the only talented person in the family, you know that, DJ. She glances at Ricky, confused as to why he's still sitting here, but she shakes it out of her mind. I can sing, thank you very much. All right, sure, it's true. I can sing better than you can. I shake my head. No, you can't. I'll prove it to you. Do it then. What do you want me to sing? Oh, say, can you fucking see? She makes a face at me. DJ, stop being so cynical. It's so overrated. I shrug my shoulders and sit back. Do it. No, pussy. She shakes her head. No, I just don't want to sing that song. 80, well then pick something, hell. Okay, I'ma sing. Unthinkable. I bust out laughing. Whatever, man. She sits up straight and clears her throat. I look at Ricky, and at this point he's looking at her. Guess he just gonna sit here and observe me all day. That's the best he can do nowadays. I haven't spoken to him since the day. I don't trust adults, because they always fail to come through. Moment of honesty. Someone's got to take the lead tonight. Who's it gonna be? I'm gonna sit right here and tell you as it comes to me. If you have something to say, you should say it right now. You give me a feeling that I've never felt before, and I think I deserve it. It's becoming something that's impossible to ignore, and I can't take it. I was wondering, maybe if I make you my baby, if we do the unthinkable, will it make us go crazy? If you ask me, I'm ready. I'm ready. I smile at her and she smiles back, and I glance at Ricky and see a grin on his face as well. and a loud cheer sounds across the rec center. I give her a high five. That's what's up. I laugh and sit back grinning. Damn, I guess you proved me wrong. She smiles back at me. I told you. You mean cuz. I smile and shrug my shoulders. I bow down. DJ. I turn toward Ricky and my grin slips from my face. And just the sight of him is like looking into the mirror and seeing the red towel all over again. I never knew I contained so much blood. I never knew I contained so much life. But I guess life has a funny way of doing things to you. I really ain't trying to hear you, man. I'm really not. I start to stand up, but before I see this girl named Tracy walk up to me with her friends. Hi, DJ. I stop and slowly sit back down. I stare at her for a second and while doing so try and breathe. Hey Tracy, she smiles at me and kind of rocks back and forth, which causes Lydia to roll her eyes. Do you have something to say to my brother, or are you just going to stand there looking stupid? She looks at Lydia. This is your little sister. I breathe in deeply and regain myself, looking around her a little bit and seeing my boys posted against the wall grinning from ear to ear. Yeah, them niggas over there sent you over here. She turns around, her short little skirt spinning with her. They said you were looking for a girl to take to the picnic Friday evening. I run my hand over my chest trying to act cool, but it's hard cause Ricky won't stop looking at me and my boys are staring and now everybody in the game room is looking at us. I hate them for this. No, I stutter. I breathe and try to not think about my mother. I'm good. Tracy frowns and puts her hands on her hips. But you have to come with me. You're so hot. Please. I smile at her weakly, look her up and down and lean back, starting to regain myself. I don't know, Ma. Ya mama wouldn't want you dating a nigga like me. She takes that as an opportunity to climb on top of me, which freaks me out so much I bug out and push her off of me on the ground. Bitch, don't touch me. You lost ya fucking mind. She looks up at me with a crazed look in her eye, which causes Lydia to laugh and my boys to laugh. Ricky looks at me with disgust, but I don't care. I don't care. I hate it when girls touch me. Just don't touch me. Everything will be fine. DJ, I'm sorry. Please. I'll do anything. I shake my head and roll my eyes and push past her friends. Bye, Lydia. Lydia waves at me. Bye, lil man. I walk past my boys and on out the game room with them whooping and laughing behind me. Man, why you bugging? That girl fine as hell. I shake my head and ignore them, walking out the rec center. DJ. We all turn around and look at Ricky running down the stairs. I ain't got nothing to say to you, man. He approaches me and shakes his head. You got to come to the counseling at least. If you don't, you will go to jail this time. I shrug my shoulders. Let them try. It'll never happen. My dad is fucking David Lamar. I do what I want to do. Ricky shakes his head, staring at me. That's the worst attitude I've ever heard. I shrug my shoulders. 81. I really don't give a fuck. I pull on my shirt and turn around and walk with my boys to the cage, passing by some crips on the other side of the street. We all am, and just keep walking, letting the hate just burn deep down inside. Been only a month since they killed one of our dudes. I thought it was all a front, all a little boy gang, like cops and robbers. Only the high school niggas be pulling the trigger. But I guess this is all our initiation. This guy named Robbie and our gang starts walking our way from the opposite direction with 3 others of our gang, and he stops us. All of the guys are juniors except Robbie, who's a senior. I look down at his pants and I see him holding a gun. We bought to murk these niggas. I turn around and look at the guys across the way, and in the midst I see Ricky looking down at me, and his eyes, they seem to capture a moment. I look back at Robbie. Let's do it. We all jumped in cars. With those of us who drove in, one by one we drove past them, and all you could hear was the loud crack of bullets being fired over and over again. I sat in the back of Robbie's car, huddled against Willie. It was all a blur to me. Didn't even seem real. I can't even really remember if I shot or not. I remember calling out one of the guys' names as we drove past, my head in the window, and then the loud pop of the gun as it whizzed past my head and hit the guy clear in the chest, causing him to fall to the ground. But what I don't remember is crying. What I don't remember is jumping to the sound of the bullet, or the poison of my words falling from my lips. I don't remember feeling a thing for the guy who I set up to die. Next thing I knew, This guy named Travis dropped me off at my house where me and Willie got out and walked in like we had been out at the mall all day. And what I do remember is getting a cup of Sprite, a box of them fruit wallops, and posting up on the Xbox for the rest of the night. I remember X coming over later, with Cameron and us playing all night long. It was cops and robbers. It was a game. It was my football, my Call of Duty. Just a game to be played with no repercussions. No one died. We just busted him real good. Teach him a lesson. But in reality, on the news that night, 3 boys were killed, 2 wounded badly, and the other 4 with minor injuries. But I never heard. The next day it was, yeah man, we got them. A police report was never filed. Word with the police were tired. It was gang related, so they figured it was a help. And the mothers didn't really make a fuss. Numb and tired. Plus there weren't any or many leads. Just a game of cops and robbers. It was just a bunch of boys, 8th to 12th, acting out Compton in the suburbs. Give it 3 minutes on the 6 o'clock news, then mop it up as fast as possible. Count it as a blessing no civilians were killed, but young boys were killed. And this is no longer cops and robbers. Don't I look up and watch as the officers bring in kids, holding them by their cuffs to ensure that they don't try anything. I've seen this same thing so many times it's like second nature to me. Jail is like home. Home is like jail. The guys passing by try and size me up with their glares, but I don't respond and don't care to. Brawls are of so little importance to me. They are of the weak and inferior. I sit back and stare at my hands, blood dripping from them icily and eerily. Drip, drip, drip. I look up suddenly and see myself staring back at myself, and I stare dead. My pupils are red and blood drips from them slowly down my cheeks. Blood pours over the edge of my mouth and like a ravishing dog, profusely pours from my mouth and covers my chin and my neck. Clothed I am in all black. Like a cloak it engulfs me. Slowly a hood comes and covers my head, shadowing my face to where all I can see is my eyes that are like a neon red light, but not neon, not bright, and my mouth stained with blood. And then, it hisses at me. I gulp deeply and feel hot, burning acid seep down my throat to the pit of my stomach, where the acid then churns this violence that through the nervous sends signals to my brain, and I taste the acid between my lips and it all replays again. The taste is so foul, but so good, so delicious, this death. Yo man, I get a call or what, Holmes? I've been in this piece for 12 hours. Can't get no call. I yell at the guards who stand watch over my cell. 3 of them posted against the gray cement wall, staring coldly back at me. Grudgingly 80 to there's 1 black man on the far left side and then 2 white guards, all of them strapped to guns and bats. Like I am a serious threat to society. Like I killed a cracker. They don't answer me, so I just snicker and sit back against the cold gray wall. I blow out deeply and lick my lips, tasting the blood and wishing to hunt more. Savage, as if I wish I could take a gun and go on a shopping spree, collecting as many cheap and expensive victims as I could to kill and wear in pride. Like this little taste of rich warm blood has made me an instant addict, causing me to crave blood. I look to my side, to my left, and see these black boys leaning against the bars speaking to me. They have no shirts on and sag the orange garb hard below their waist. Their teeth are golden like me, they pour like vomit acid like rapacious animals. What you do, man? I grin at them evilly and more blood falls from my mouth as I tear and enjoy this delicious death, better than it was when I first devoured it. I shot this dude's dick off. The guys' mouths drop and they back slowly away from me, frowning, not understanding this craziness. This demon that possesses me, this death that possesses me, man, that nigga crazy Holmes. I look to my right and grin at this other black boy who stumbles backing away from the bars. I grin to myself, a beautiful death, tasty, fulfilling. I yelped out that talking. One of the white guards says as the cells become vivid with talk about the new guest, murmuring continuously but at a low hum as I am passed from cell to cell. I look at the guard and then break out into a full-out laugh. Foam and vomit profusely flowing out my mouth and now forming a puddle of blood and white foam. You know why, that dude. The guard just mugs me evilly, starting to get annoyed with me. I smile at him and nod my head. I shot him more so cause he was white. I laugh to myself and feel the eyes of the white guard as he stares at me with menace. I sit up and stare back at him. I hate crackers. The guard bites his lip hard and tries to ignore me. You think you better than me. The guard eyes me. You're a murderer. I frown at him, becoming sickened. I'm a murderer because I'm black. I spit at him. I ain't killed nobody yet. I stare back at him hard. You kill the world because you have all this power but refuse to see, refuse to do. I shake my head and lean back against the wall, the time ticking away ever so slowly. You are the reason I'm here. I shoot up and gasp for breath, looking all around my room and seeing thankfully my posters on my wall and my artwork. And so I breathe. I wipe the perspiration from my neck and my head and breathe again as best I can. I wipe my eyes, tired and scared, trying not to look at my door, but I still seem to see it. I still seem to see her. When I came out of the jail, that day the court had its full hearing about me and the other boy. I remember, jail can drown you into a place in the mind that you with all your strength cannot bring yourself out of. When you are in jail, you either come up with a game plan to positively increase and sustain your freedom in the real world, or you build up resentment and anger and you stay there, in mind and in soul, all which makes you come back when released. Because anger channeled in a wrong way can only lead to destruction. But imagine coming back again and again. You start to lose care of the world. You become numb, and when you are numb, you are not only numb to feelings, emotions, touch, but time. Time escapes you. Without time, there is little purpose. Jail is very, very boring. You just sit and sit all day long, and sometimes things pop off, but mostly things remain quiet and isolated. It is you and walls nearly all day, and there are no windows, so the days run together like watercolor. I was in jail for 2 weeks before the trial started, and the white boy would have been too. But he had to be in the hospital. His father, as I had promised, lost his job, and now from what I heard from my homeboys was now staying at home sulking. The mother was overly stressed between her son, bills, and the raging bipolar husband. I shrugged. My boys told me and said he shouldn't have messed with me. My name was notorious in the hood, and the story of the fight had hit nearly every news station in North Texas. Again I shrugged. I didn't and don't care. The trial came low, and many of the boys who were there came forth and told their stories. The white boys twisted it for the benefit of their boy, and my homies twisted it for mine. But my homeboys were trained unlike white boys who never faced trials such as these. So my stories remain like, while the white boys went every which way, my grandfather with much influence and money came to my defense with the best lawyer money could buy, and so I only had to serve time for 3 more weeks while my grandfather paid an expensive fine. The judge ordered that I still though be on constant surveillance and that I would have routine checkups with my parole officer for the remainder of the school year and summer, and my community service hours went higher. So, I won't kill myself. 83. The white boy, though having no money and no grandfather with the kind of influence and cash flow my granddaddy had, was sentenced to jail for 2 years. Plus he made the first hit. My whole case was centered on self-defense. His mother was so irate at the sentencing it was crazy and tragic at the same time. But he shot him. He shot him in the effing balls. But nothing that she said could stop the sentencing. It was done. I remember riding in the back seat of my probation officer's car with my butt raging fiercely. My granddaddy had beat the living shit out of me about 2 hours ago, and then he tore up my ass. My granddaddy had whooped me before, but nothing before like that. It's always weird too, because my granddaddy be white. So it be reminding me of old times when crackers used to beat the shit out of niggas and think they was on top of us. I cried so hard and begged him to take me with him. But he said I had my dad now and there was no reason now. But I'm wondering, why couldn't I have landed on his door? But I guess in a sense I had. You're going to have to understand that not all white people are out to get you. I'm white and I ain't out to get you, right? Stare out the window of Granddad's office and watch as rain drizzles down its face silently, steadily like my tears. I shrug and look down at my hands, playing with them, I guess. My grandfather stares at me for a long time and then sighs. The phone rings on his desk, so he answers it, looking at me on and off with worry. Yeah, sure, do what you see fit. All right, He closes the cell phone and stares at me for a long time. Oh no, DJ, you're not hurting anybody but yourself. Is hurting, DJ. This isn't the way to get your point across. I bite my lip in anger and shake my head, clenching my fist in my hand. You don't understand. Nobody does. My grandfather stares at me and then shakes his head. Then speak, DJ, what is it? I stare at the ground and then hands, blood dripping from them, creating a puddle, and in the puddle I see her reflection. I trembling look up at him, my body full of anger. I hate her. Tears slip down my face. I hate her. I hate her. I shake my head. Do you hear me? I hate her. My grandfather breathes in deeply and looks to the window, staring for a long time. But this is not going to help, son. You will die or go to jail and she'll be here. You're only hurting you. I shake my head. I'd kill her, but I love her. He stares at me with a face and frowns. But you, I love her. I yell at him. He shakes his head and undoes his tie. Maybe I need to get you counseling. I breathe in deeply and sit back in the sofa. I hate white people. My grandfather stares at me. White folks ain't done nothing to you. You can't keep blaming white folks for your problems. I frown hard at him. Oh really? Then why they keep trying to lock me up? He shakes his head at me. Because you keep doing things to put yourself there. I shake my head. Whatever, 'cause I'm black. He comes to the couch and sits to me and puts his arm around me. This white man cares about you. More than that, loves you. He grabs my nose and shakes me by it. And in return I smile weakly at him. He stares at me a long time into my eyes. This white man loves you very much. I smile weakly still but hug him tightly and rest in his arms, throwing away my tough act. Love. He loves me. But what about the other? The one who means more to me than gold in life itself. And shortly after I was enrolled in counseling with Ricky after my attempt, which still doesn't feel like an attempt, or feel real. I look at my wall and try and breathe. I hate the night. I can't sleep, because in my dreams I see her, but when I'm up I dread she'll find her way inside me, like she lives in me. I look at Ricky's card on the table. He dropped it by a while ago. Hey, I'm Pastor Ricky. The room is dark with a bit of sunlight drifting in through the window that's directly behind Mr. Ricky's desk. He sits underneath it leaning upon the wall and is seated atop a filing cabinet. Open in his hands is what seems to be the Book of Life as people call it. It interests me much, by just the title, Book of Life. Seeing that I always seem to struggle between life and death, Mr. Ricky is dressed in a white polo shirt and black dress pants. He has a nice fade and seems to be not that much older than my father, who is 30. So he's fairly young and seems to be in great shape by just looking at his body type. I look around the room as he with his finger motions me to sit in the chair in front of his desk. The room is filled with shelves, neatly arranged containing many, many books. And on those shelves you can see Jesus symbols that I try to comprehend but drop, telling myself that this carpenter as he was good and did nothing for me. 84 As I wait for him to acknowledge me, I look about his desk and see many pictures of this woman with long brown wig. Wavy hair and radiant skin that seems to illuminate the room. Like a spirit from those brown lovely eyes is very much present in the room, bouncing off the walls here and there with energy and excitement. She's lovely. I shake my head and look away from her onto the many papers and crap on his desk. Females scare me, and it seems like nowadays everyone has a girl except me. All my boys talk about our girls and their stuff. Just leave it at stuff because their language is so foul and degrading it worries me. I've in my heart held women to a very high esteem. They ask me as to why I don't have girls or why I haven't done it yet. I always shrug. That stuff just seems so nasty to me. And every time I see a girl I think about grandma. I can't even have a conversation, really, with a girl, woman, without thinking. They'll try to do something to me. I shake my head again. Girls are so aggressive too. They always grabbing me and pulling me to them to do things. And it just don't feel right to me. And I don't really like girls either, I've been noticing. Not like the other guys be. Mr. He sits his Bible down on the desk and looks at me. I bite my lip. So what's up, man? I say. He shrugs. You tell me. I smile weakly. I don't know what to tell. I don't even know why I'm here. Dad just pulls me out of class at 1:30 talking about we going to see the pastor. I ain't stepped into the church since I robbed this place. This they church, I say, not mine. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Mr. Ricky nods and stands up and to the front of the desk and scoots a few things over and back, making a seat for himself. He nods several times to himself and pulls out a notepad from his pocket. Your father and I have been talking about you for several months. Mr. Ricky shrugs, and he is very concerned about you, as he should be, considering your behaviors. I roll my eyes like, is this man serious? Man, I'm fine. Mr. Ricky nods again. Are you really? I stare at him for a long time. I ain't gotta do this. I don't need you up in my business, man. Mr. Ricky smiles politely. I've made you my business, up until you graduate. I laugh at this and shake my head. You think I'm a graduate? Mr. Ricky nods. Of course, you're a bright child, a genius. Hasn't anyone ever told you? I stare at him with with my mouth partly open, trying to search for his real intent. All of me becoming tense at this. Nobody's ever said I could actually graduate. Your grades are straight A's on tests, state, and school. You're even in a grade higher than you ought to be. He looks at me questionably. Hasn't anyone ever told you? I shake my head, grit my teeth into my lip and stare at the ground, squeezing my hands tightly together, and it's like my body's been sucked of air and I'm looking for a way out. But my mind just talks endlessly about, no, I'm nothing. I've always been. I'm a riffraff. I'll never be anything. I'll die or go to jail. He's playing me. He shakes his head and sighs. And it's a shame, 'cause you wanted to end it all your potential greatness in suicide. I look up immediately at him with rage filling me and my throat choked. You don't know shit about that. You don't know shit about me. I spit at him. He looks at me with calm eyes and says almost in a whisper, then tell me. Tears start to stream down my face and my body trembles. I try to forget about that day, but it's hard when all you think about is death, when all you hear is death, when all you see is death, when all you yearn for is death, when you yourself are death. He continues to look at me in calm eyes. You have to tell someone. You can't hold all this pain, all it will do is kill you. Gets off the desk and comes near me, bending down and leaning against my chair and staring into my eyes. Whoever told you you were nothing is a liar. It's all a lie. God made you for a purpose, and he has unconditional love for you, and you don't have to become anything to inherit his love. You don't have to do anything. I look up in wonder, staring throughout his face, his eyes, not sure if I had heard correctly, my mind swimming like I'm on ecstasy. I don't have to do anything. Mr. Ricky nods and takes hold of my hands, which I frown at in confusion. My mind and nerve is not on one accord, or maybe they are, maybe they call it crazy. You're in search of love. I, from looking up at him, look down. I can't look into his eyes. It's as if he can see through me and see everything I hide, like I'm naked. Who is this God? I ask, staring into his eyes. A while later, Mr. Ricky smiles sweetly. 85 Jesus. I stare at the card harder. Jesus. Done. 86. Chapter 6. Sexually TY man DJ. Why don't you tap that man? DJ, you a bitch. Man nigger, you acting like you saw a ghost. Man, what's your issue? It's just a girl. Just tap it like that. No problem. Touches my arm gently. Thank you, she whispers, leans over and kisses me on the cheek. Smile uncomfortably. Didn't feel right, doesn't feel right. Shield. Don't even respond. Leave him alone. Y'all just jealous cause I like him more than y'all. Rest her head against me. Duck telling you. DJ don't know what to do with that. TV and two guys kissing. Amazes me. Makes me think. Everyone chooses sometimes. Today at school it's been like hell. My parents and everybody's parents up at the school talking about the fight yesterday. Kelsey's mom is ecstatic. She's cussing and fussing with the teachers and the guys' parents, swearing up and down this and that. Me, I'm just chillin'. As long we says office it's cool with me, cause then I ain't got to do no work. My probation officer ain't showed up either, so I don't think I'm in any trouble. They just been saying day of ISS, which is cool, cause then I can text and chill some more. Kelsey's mama though, man, she will not stop giving me the evil eye. I don't know why she don't like me. I don't even smoke that much weed no more, but mama, anyway, she handling her business and got me out of any serious trouble. I even got to go home early today since we wasted so much time talking. Xavier came over too since he ain't had nowhere else to go. Kelsey of course ain't came. Her mama think we some low down thugs. For the longest while we just sit on the couch, not really saying anything, so I break the silence. X-man, you love me. X frowns and looks over at me. Man, you been watching too many opera shows. I roll my eyes. X, I'm serious. Do you love me? X's face remains the same, fixed on the TV. Sure, you my boy. I swallow hard and look at him a long time, and then lean over to him. Then kiss me. I kiss him on the lips and try to go in his mouth, wanting to connect with him in the only way I know how. Just as I'm about to move around in his mouth, X pushes me so quick and so hard into the ground I feel like I've lost my wind. I look up startled and he's standing over me frowning like what the hell, with a pretty pissed look on his face. I scoot back and pull myself up, not taking my eyes off of him as stares me down stoically and intently. I've never seen X this way. His eyes are menacing and so serious. I stumble, still trying to put room between myself and him. If you love me, you'll kiss me. X's eyes are still tightly fixed on me, but then he shakes his head and wipes his mouth with the back of his hand. DJ, I like girls. Okay, I was just jocking nigger when I was saying that, you gay and all. He eyes me like I'm stupid. That doesn't mean you are. I frown and then look back at him sheepishly. But I've been thinking about it a lot. X rolls his eyes and walks to sit back down on the couch. X, I looked at girls all night and nothing happened. But I look at guys and I get this weird feeling like butterflies. X eyes me evilly. You fucking asshole. Who the hell am I gonna talk to about girls? X waves his hand at me. Man, you might as well be Kelsey. I sit down on the couch far away from him, eyeing him and sigh deeply. 87, I liked it when you held me, man. X rolls his eyes, becoming very annoyed. That ain't supposed to happen. You liked it because I was there. You weren't alone. I was your friend, you dimwit. I shake my head. Girls scare me. I don't look at them the way all other guys do, so I must like boys. X won't even look at me. his eyes straight ahead on the television, trying to ignore the truth that his boy is. Maybe you haven't entered puberty yet, he says, gritting his teeth. Look at your legs. They're as smooth as a baby's bare behind. I look at my legs and then at X's. His has a lot more hair. Mine nothing. I don't know. I like boys. They're comfortable. Like what I like. No drama. Laid back. Nice bodies. X scoots farther away from me, eyeing me like I'm crazy, so I slap the couch in frustration. Why won't you look at me? X shakes his head. You're not gay. You're just confused. I shake my head. This has been going on too long. I like boys, and you're gonna have to deal with it. X shakes his head and is quiet for a long time. You can get a disease, man. AIDS. It kills, ya know. I frown. AIDS. X nods and eyes me. If you have sex with a dude, man, you can get AIDS. I shrug. Better than being with a female, trust me. I shrug again. Plus, I ain't gonna have sex. X looks at me and sighs. When you get going on a road, it's hard to get off, man. X shakes his head solemnly. Man, I don't care if you're gay, okay? He looks at me. Just know that I ain't the one, homie. I will always have your back, but not like that. I nod my head, staring and playing with my hands. Not sure of where my emotions are. Okay, X nods. We cool. I nod again, biting my lip and glare up at the TV. Yeah, we cool. Done. We walk into his office, and when he hears the door crack open, he turns around and looks at us, or more so me. He starts to open his mouth, but then he closes it. I guess figuring it best not to say anything. I sigh and look down at the ground as my dad puts his hand on my shoulder and nods to Ricky. I got him. Ricky looks at me wearily and then looks at my father and nods his head. I see that. My father looks down at me. I'll be here to pick you up in an hour, all right. He hugs me to him and kisses me on the top of my head. Love you, lil man. I nod my head and don't watch him leave. I never watch him leave anymore. I look up and stare at Ricky as he stares at me, putting his pen between his lips and lean back as if he understands everything. I just shake my head. I don't know if I hate him or hate him. Have a seat, son. I walk to the leather seat in front of his desk and sit down with not much of an attitude, but with one, no doubt. I look around the room, all the Jesus symbols and whatnot. I hate just being in a church. It's like they don't know, they just don't know. Ricky stares at me some more, and then takes the pen from his lips and drums a quick beat on the desk and bites his lip, shaking his head. He looks back at me then, still gangbanging. I presume I shrug my shoulders and don't look up. Things have gotten worse now. It's like a real gang. Y'all know I had to bury those boys. I shrug my shoulders and